Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Calvin Jensen with SVA National Headquarters. I'm joined with my colleague, our Vice President of Development, Mike Dewar. We're going to be talking a little bit in this session. This is going to be how to pay for NatCon 2022. And I know we just started NatCon 2021, but we want to plant that seed in your head to start that fundraising cycle. So we're going to use this as a practical session. It's going to be myself and my boss who helped raise funds for NatCon to make this possible. That's going to kind of be the theme of this session. We got a few PowerPoints. I'll just go ahead and introduce myself before we take a dive into the content here. So on the next slide, there will be my intro and you're seeing me. So yeah, my name's Calvin Jensen. I was a former Marine and Arizona native, and I was stationed in the Marines, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. When I was getting out of the Marines, they had this thing you might have heard of called the GI Bill, and I thought that sounded pretty cool, pay me to be a student. So I graduated from the University of Arizona with a dual bachelor's in international relations and philosophy. And before going to what I thought was going to be law school, SVA headquarters pulled me in. So I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia, near national headquarters in Washington, D.C. And as development manager, I help manage the portfolio of career readiness and professional development opportunities with my colleague, Mike. And I also lead our partnership with LinkedIn. We had an awesome session today. More to follow for everyone who's interested in any of those workshops for your chapter. And I'll go to my colleague, Mike.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Calvin. So as Calvin said, my name is Mike Dewar. I'm the Vice President of Development for SVA. I've been with SVA for almost a year now. I have actually started out as a partner of SVA, coming to NatCon since 2016. I worked for a nonprofit here in Washington, D.C. That does internships and professional development opportunities for undergraduate and graduate students. I manage their student veteran internship program. They're actually exhibitor here at NatCon, so go check out the Washington Center over in the SVA campus. I'll give a shout out to my old colleagues there, and the Vet Initiative, which is a student veteran oriented internship program for anything that you're looking to do. But being a partner of SVA for all those years, had the opportunity to jump on over, join the team. I leapt at that, and I remember telling Jared during my interview that I had always enviously looked from the outside in on the team, and so I'm very happy to be here as your Vice President of Development. So as Calvin talked about and mentioned, we're going to talk with you, or I'm going to talk with you first here, things to consider and things you want to do when planning your fundraising for NatCon 2022 and preparing, what that really is going to take for you to have a successful fundraising effort. So you can bring as many of your chapter members to NatCon next year. Hopefully, knock on wood, it will be in person. And so those kind of expenses will be. And as Calvin mentioned as well, I'll frame a little bit in how we do fundraising with actually how I did fundraising for NatCon 2021 and how you all were actually able to register, hopefully for free, because it was sponsored by one of our many partners. And so let's just go into the discussion.
Okay.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry, Calvin.
Oh, no, something I was just going to bring up. We talked about a chapter-specific role before Mike gets into this. This is really going to be the linchpin. What we're advising is you bring a team to NatCon and kind of, focus on each of your areas. So this position is something we teach in SVA summits. Mike will go ahead and cover some of the kind of more granular details about the duties and responsibilities of the Vice President of Finance and Fundraising. So just wanted to add that. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Calvin. So, the first kind of thing we want to talk about is within your leadership team, your Vice President of Finance and Fundraising, and why it's important to have that singular leader in the leadership team kind of take on this responsibility. And as it says here, it is a unique level of trust responsibility because anything with a dollar sign always complicates matters. You know, there needs to be a process, there needs to be transparency, and there's also the challenge with raising money. And so for those individuals who do that with your chapter, who are that position, or maybe, you know, ready to go and step up and take another position, that is, you know, one of the things you should take a look at and understand, and refer back to our chapter resource guide that's on our website that will give you a lot of the fundamental knowledge, resources, tools of to be a successful VP of Finance and Fundraising. So please go on our website, studentveterans.org, and look up the chapter guide. And then lastly, on that point there, we make mistakes. I make mistakes. And because it deals with the dollar sign, you gotta be open, you gotta be honest, you gotta be transparent with that. Nothing wrong with making a mistake, but if you don't come up with it and say, hey, there was an issue, there was a problem, you know, that's where the real issue is. But I don't want to harp too much on that, but I just want you to be aware that that is an aspect of doing this job, of being a fundraiser, that you all do need to be aware of. The second thing here is the touch on is understanding and the need to make sure your finances are in order. And when I mean finances, I don't mean that you have a bunch of money in your bank account, but meaning you have the infrastructure to set up your fundraising. Meaning, one, do you have a budget? Do you actually know what you need to fundraise for? What's a failure? What's a goal? What's exceeding the goal when it comes to raising money to attend NatCon? And one of the traps we fall into is, well, I'll just try to raise as much as you can, because the more I have, the more people we can send, and the better we'll be off. It's tough to build a strategy around, well, I'm just going to try to raise as much money as possible. So when it comes to then finding out a framework, building that goal, understanding what's going to be minimum, the goal, exceeding the goal, and when you talk to people who may give you money, who's going to want to know what your budget is, what your expenses are, this is where it kind of comes into play that you need to have that laid out. And so for those finance majors out there, for those accountants out there, this is right in your wheelhouse that you might be doing as a profession that you can apply to right now, is help your chapter build your budget, help your chapter build your accountable tracking system. And there's plenty of already developed online platform resources. There's already plenty of examples, as you can see right here, of what that would look like. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just be aware that it exists out there, and use Google and ask your peers, you know, what's available out there. And always ask us over at SVA HQ of what we can do to assist you with that. Once again, the chapter resource guide is a wonderful opportunity. So the donor cultivation process. I'm not going to harp too much on this as a process. What it really is you developing relationships. It may be with a particular company, maybe with a particular partner, maybe with just an individual. But all that is you talking with individuals that have similar aligned goals, and things that they care about that align with what you're looking to do. Easy is it's supporting veterans, supporting student veterans. There's plenty of individuals, plenty of organizations that do that, but it's about you communicating with them that you and them are aligned on the same thing that we're looking to achieve together. I have conversations all day. I talk with multi-million-dollar Fortune 500, Fortune 500 corporations and multi-million-dollar foundations, all the way down to just single individuals, and it's the same conversation. Hey, you look like you support veterans. You have this wonderful program, or you've had this wonderful history of supporting veterans. Guess what? We do the same thing. We do it just, we want to do it just along with you, and there might just be at the end of it all, a price point or a donation being made. But it's about identifying those kind of touch points, those opportunities to collaborate together on, to show that you can help them achieve their goal. They can help you achieve your goal, and then coming to a way to work together on that. And then I tell them the dollar amount comes naturally after you realize that, oh man, we really do work well together, or yeah, there is some things that we can collaborate on. It's always better to frame it as how can we assist each other? How can we work together versus you have all the money, I have no money, please give me money. And Calvin, please jump in anytime. I really want to, look towards you also as kind of representing our members, our chapters, because you've been doing this for plenty of years. But we'll
Sure.
make this as much a conversation, but I know that we're going to kind of go through these fundamentals here.
Yeah, we're covering kind of the high level. So
yeah.
We'll get into it. Don't worry, folks.
Yeah. So fundraising considerations for NatCon 2022. So we already touched on the first point of you need to have a budget. You need to understand what it's actually going to cost you as an individual and then as a group to go to NatCon next year, as an in-person event. And you can see right here the things you can consider: travel, registration, food, lodging, how many people you're planning to bring, and how you're going to maze that. We do recommend 5 to 6 chapter members to your leadership team, and then anyone else that you can bring. But once again, I'll harp on, make sure you have a budget, make sure you have understanding what you need to do with that. Fundraising channels, the infrastructure. You all know GoFundMe, Indiegogo, crowdsourcing. Those are all wonderful online platforms that you can use to capture those funds. And once again, your VP of fundraising and finance will be able to use that to track the money coming in for the accounting as a student organization, that you would need to do to show if you're audited. So once again, there's nothing you need to reinvent the wheel on. These things exist, you just need to understand that they're available and then how to properly use them. And then the last thing, once again, just calculate the cost that it's going to cost per person to attend. And then there you go, you can help you set your goal a little bit more. And that's no different than what we did this year, okay? How many people are we expecting to be able to bring into a platform? How much would that cost for that platform to hit that amount? And then we just break it down per person. That helps us identify what the actual cost of registration would be. That identifies how much I would need to raise for fundraising, so on and so forth. So it all kind of leads. These are all kind of the tactical things that feed your strategy that ultimately fuels your goal.
Yeah, and in relation to calculating the cost per member, I know something that we do in development, Mike, in coordination with our comms and marketing team, we want to show that face. So what we talk about a lot of times with our partners and kind of that good idea, we want to pass along to our chapters. We've all seen those commercials where, they hold up like money and they're saying, with this amount, you can send Mike, studying finance to the national conference. He can meet with EY, he can meet with Prudential, his dream. So that sort of targeted approach, that return on investment, isn't just from the relationship you build in the fundraising case, but are there any examples, maybe a chapter leader looking to implement kind of this sort of design back on their campus can take on?
Yeah, so it's really two halves of a circle, to be honest. So my half that I did was talk to our partners about why NatCon 2021 is going to be a fantastic opportunity to connect with our student veteran chapters, our student veteran members, once again, down to the individual. And that is a goal of theirs. Believe me, that is a big goal, is that they want to reach out and engage with all of you, have it be through SVA or any other means. And so what I did was, they have this goal. Well, I make the connection of, we can collaborate together, because what the other half of the circle is doing is all of you are looking to engage with the programs, resources, tools, opportunities that our partners may provide you, may offer you, that's aligned either one with your professional development, your career aspirations, your academic pursuits, and what you're looking to achieve in school, and maybe even socially or community-wise, of like getting involved, volunteering, being involved in your community, just making that transition from military to your next chapter of your life. Those are two halves of the same circle, and we just want to do is connect that. And what I did and what I do and what I'll continue to do is communicate with them on what it means to be a student veteran, to mean you. What are you looking for? What are you looking to engage with? And then just discovering what are those touch points, what are those areas of collaboration. And so it is so important that we always communicate, work with all of you, to learn from all of you, to hear, what has been the challenges of COVID-19. What are you looking to achieve with your degree field in IT? What are you looking when it comes to being that freshman, sophomore starting your schooling, knowing that in a couple years that you're going to graduate and start your career. All these things then helps me communicate and engage with our partners. And so you can do the same thing too. And then I'll switch over to the next slide now. So what this all then goes to, so how do you do that? So how do you on your side communicate with anyone about why going to NatCon is important to me as an individual, to us as a chapter, to us as the organization, as well as, for anything else for your chapter when it comes to fundraising, to building, growing, and sustaining your chapter. So let's go now talk about just some of the things that you can do when it comes to first steps for fundraising. So first place that any of you should go to is your school. If you are, and you all should be, a recognized government, recognized student organization on your college campus, your school has funds, has money set aside to support their student organizations, which you are. And so some of you have already done this. Some of you, this is probably your primary funding source to come to NatCon. For those who aren't, all you need to do is you go to the appropriate office. You can go online right now, look up your student, your university administrator for student organizations, and there will be a funding thing. And sometimes it's just filling out a grant, filling out a form, registering yourself as a student organization, and then you have budgeted maybe $500, maybe $1,000 to use at your discretion, or to use to go to events like this, to go to conferences, to pay for travel, to pay for lodging. You have those resources available. So it's just a matter of going out and finding the right office, finding the right individual to do that. The second organization on your campus that you should be going to is your student government. So your student government also may have budget set aside to support their student organizations. And since they're representing you, once again, it's just a matter of finding the right individual, going through the right process, being approved, and might be having $500, $1,000 for lodging, for travel, what have you. And it's very little work, okay? It's just filling out some forms and finding the right person. So I say, if you take anything away from this, NatCon in general, this is what it should be, because this will get you to NatCon 2022, or at least help you get there. The next is a kind of standard go-to thing. Donation drives, fundraisers. Hey, it's a pancake breakfast. It is selling hot dogs after bar close. It's having a booth or table at homecoming, and getting individual donations that way. It's a great way. It's probably, like I said, the go-to way most chapters, most nonprofits do as well. But I will tell you this: there are limitations to that, or at least there's things that you should consider when doing it. So the first thing is the cost-benefit analysis, which is if you're going to host a pancake breakfast in partnership with the American Legion, how much is that going to cost you, resources-wise? How much is it going to cost you, work-wise? How many volunteers are you going to need? How many chapter members are going to have to volunteer to do that? And how much are you going to have to raise to, one, pay for the event, but then actually have money left over to go towards NatCon 2022? And so it may work out well, but it may not be. You may spend all this money and have no one show up. And so do that analysis. How much is it going to really put in for marketing? How much is it really going to do in for finding a venue, doing the resources? A lot of times, a lot of our chapters will get like in the merchandise thing. They're like, oh, well, we'll make t-shirts, we'll sell t-shirts. It's a great thing. We just kind of started ourselves. I strongly recommend you all go take a look at our merch table, quote unquote. But we're not a merchandise company. We don't sell things. We sell those items because we know it's important, but also we don't dedicate any more resources than necessary, absolutely necessary, to make sure that's a return on investment. So don't let it get too far away from you when it comes to, we're making a lot of money with this, but it does also cost us a lot of money. And is that the right kind of message? Is that the kind of right relationship building that you would want to be doing, by these kind of items? And I'm not meaning, to be discouraging about them, but just understand that that's one aspect of fundraising, and that may only get you so far when it comes to reaching that goal. The third group here, your local businesses, is another wonderful opportunity. And I really personally think that a lot of chapters don't do enough when it comes to reaching out to the local businesses and the local organizations in your local community. Because all the partners that we have right now that are sponsors of NatCon, I guarantee you have that local connection to their community at their offices. And there's plenty of employee resource groups, employee volunteer groups that are looking to engage their employees and their local community with organizations like SVA, and engage all of you on, once again, might be fundraising, might be professional development, networking, mentoring. All these things are available, and all these companies have their corporate philanthropic, their community services, departments, people, representatives that are looking to make these connections. And so I do recommend going to the SVA campus. Ask them, hey, we're here in Rutgers. We're here in Cornell. We're here in University of Minnesota. Do you have a local office here? We would love to do X, Y, or Z. And I guarantee you that they would be interested, and they would want to put you in touch with the right people. And there you grow that. Once again, that's a relationship. You identify those kind of points that you can collaborate on. They can provide you some assistance. And then, hey, they see the value that they're bringing to you all as a chapter, but they also see, them giving back to community, which easily translates, easily dovetails into NatCon 2022, possible funding, possible support, and there you go. Many different ways you can explore that, many different ways you can build that partnership. And I do it every single day when it comes to, kind of nationally with SVA and us representing all you all's chapters and having, that kind of top-down approach of us building those relationships and getting connected with you. All right. I'm going to open it up now to kind of for questions, but also for Calvin's remarks. But what I really want to do with you all and with Calvin is take this opportunity for you all to ask me, what you can do for fundraising, what successes or failures that you've had, and also let Calvin kind of talk about historically what he's come across with our chapters and doing this. So I'm gonna hand it right over to Calvin now.
Sure. Well, let me go ahead, get a few questions in here.
Mm-hmm.
Knew this would come up. So is there an idea of where NatCon 2022 will be?
So we do have an idea. Unfortunately, we can't tell you right now because it's about partnerships, it's about relationship building, and we're working on that. But there will be a NatCon 2022, have it be in person, have it be virtual, have it be hybrid of both. This is one of those conversations that I talk to our partners about because they all want to be involved with that. They all want to play a part with it, and we do too. And so we collaborate, we problem solve, we figure out what NatCon 22 might look like.
Well, this brings up something we teach at the summits, Mike, the strategic plan. So because we are talking about kind of three options, right? In-person, virtual, hybrid, for instance. Each one is going to have a different sort of strategic plan, goals, objectives, strategies. So would you advise that maybe we have a sketch for an in-person, hybrid?
Well, yes. So here's the thing. So, at SVA HQ, I work closely with all my other VPs. So the Vice President of Government Relations, Vice President of Research, Vice President of Programming, our Chief of Staff. We all work together because we all are pieces of the puzzle. And so I need to know exactly what all of they are doing, what their goals are, because I need to fundraise for it. I'm going to be the one that's going to help the legislative team continue to advocate on your all behalf in the GI Bill. I'm going to help research, provide funds so they continue to do the research and learn more about our student veteran demographic. I'm going to help programming, pay for NatCon. But I need to know what's going on, need to know what the goals are. And so that helps me talk to our partners. At the same time, they need to know what I'm doing, what's going to be reasonable, how much I'm going to be able to raise, so they know their program, their initiative is going to be funded. So Calvin, to your point, in person, virtual, hybrid, figure out rough cost. What is an in-person going to cost? What is a virtual going to cost? What is a hybrid, and what does that necessarily mean? You all may know that, may not know that, what those answers are, but guess what? We're here. Calvin's here. You can always reach out to us and talk to us about that. Are we going to be able to give you the whole answer? Maybe not. Maybe not right now, but we at least can give you some advice of what you can plan for. And my advice right now for you is, if it's an in-person NatCon, even though we don't know where the location might be, but roughly we know, we can kind of guess what flights are, what hotels are in any kind of major city, and kind of look back at where we've been in the past for NatCon. You can come up to a rough estimate. And a rough estimate right now is what you would need just to kind of get an idea of it. Do I need to raise thousands of dollars, or do I need to raise tens of thousands of dollars? That will help you, kind of build that strategy. And, you know, when it comes to the other two, a virtual or a hybrid, well, at least the in-person is going to cost you the most. So, that's at least where your kind of baseline is. Everything else might be lower, so you're going to have more wiggle room to play with. Thank you, Calvin.
Great question. We have a few more. So anyone else that has those questions for the audience, put your questions in that question box below the player, and not necessarily in the chat. So that's where the Q&A is going to feed to me. So, all right. So a question here, we just talked about that, research. We're talking with Fortune 500 companies, multi-million-dollar companies, essentially we're trying to get their money and then use that to benefit students. That's going to come with research. Can you talk a little bit about SVA's research, what interest partners, and how maybe a chapter can leverage that back on their campus?
Yeah. So the way I do research, and this is why it's a team effort, I take so much from our research department, our research team, when it comes to engaging our partners about student veterans. Because I only know so much, and they have all the information. Now, that's a little bit different from what you're kind of, at the chapter level might needing to do, but it comes down to research. So when I talk about, let's just say your school, you got to do research and figure out what department your school, manages those funds to support their student organizations, but also got to do the research and see what they fund or don't fund, and what you need to do to be able to meet that. That's all kind of preparatory things. Now, when it comes to, like, let's just say grant writing, let's say you want to go to a foundation into a grant, which actually, quick side note, your administration at your school also does grant writing, and they also can support you in that grant writing as well. So go to your grant writing office. It may call something else, might be fundraising, might be grants, but there is an office that writes grants, and they're there also to assist you to write grants. They may have money already set aside for you. They may write your grant for yourself, or they may be able to point you in the right direction. So that goes into the research part of finding those organizations that align to you. Now, it's pretty easy to do the basic Google search of, like, veteran advocacy, veteran support, corporate philanthropic, corporate services, social responsibility. Look at, or the veteran service organizations. Us, Travis Manion, Pat Tillman, Wounded Warrior, American Legion, VFW. They all have possibility for fundraising, but you got to go and do the research, and you got to know what you're talking about. You got to know what aligns with them. So before I talk to anyone, I do all the research I can to figure out where we align, who I need to be talking to, and everything I'm talking to them about immediately resonates with them and what they're looking to achieve, or I'm bringing something brand new to the table. But I gotta tell them why it's important.
All right. We got another question here, Mike. So, biggest fundraising that we do is for NatCon, and we never raise enough through individual donations, which sounds common. Should we find corporate sponsors instead? kind of sounds like we should from your presentation.
Yeah, so I think the the way you want to manage that. So I don't say you don't need to go to okay, our presenting sponsor Raytheon Technologies. You don't need to go to their like headquarter office and talk to their like vice president of corporate social responsibility, but do the research and see if there's an office in your local area, in your city where your school is or nearby, and reach out to them and see if they have an employee resource group. So I'll give you all a tip right now. Raytheon has a wonderful series of employee resource groups, and one of them is called VetNet. It is made up of veteran employees of their company that are looking to, one, build a community within the company of veterans, but then also engage with veterans outside in the local community. So a wonderful opportunity right there at going to the Raytheon booth in the SVA campus, say, hey, I hear you have like an employee resource group made for veterans. We would love to connect with them, but doing your research, connect with them about what? Okay, they're going to want to know what you want to connect with them, not because they want to like waste their time, but they want to be able to make sure that they can connect with you in a meaningful way and help you achieve what you're looking to achieve. So that's where I think where that corporate partner can be as help to you, but keep it at the local level and have a very specific ask, so to speak, of what you're looking for. Maybe it is NatCon, or maybe it is for an event, maybe it is for networking or something. So I think there you can do as well. And also just the local businesses. It could be a small business. It could be, it doesn't need to be a big corporation, but I tell you, not enough chapters do reach out at the local level with those partners, especially all the partners that we have now that know SVA, that know all of you. There's nothing wrong by going and reaching out and saying hi, but just have a reason for it.
Yeah, and that is relevant to my job, making sure you engage and we localize the partnerships that we have not only at NatCon, but at SVA headquarters. So they're always asking us, hey, can you introduce us to this chapter in this local area? And definitely you want to have your research, you want to have your plan for the events you're doing, members, who are they, and then how they can help support these events. So another question came in, and I'll kind of answer this kind of with a story I use practically as not just a former chapter leader, but something I use to help kind of do the LinkedIn recruitment piece. So the question was, I'm a chapter president and we don't have a VP of fundraising. Is it important that we fill that position? I've been doing it myself. Should that duty be separate from the president? So when I was a chapter leader, I first started out, yeah, I was, it was just me, and then I had to expand it. So I got on LinkedIn and did some keyword searches, student veterans, or anyone that was military affiliated on my campus, type in some keywords, visitors to the vet center, and people that were studying finance or accounting. Now I found somebody that we provided a practical work study position for and told them, hey, this is more about kind of the practical experience. Also, we're a part of SVA National Headquarters. They are partners with EY in this instance, who is supporting this NatCon, and definitely, go visit them on the SVA campus. So got to add that shameless plug. But yeah, that was something they saw, the practical project and the experience. So it's a great place to start. That question that came in. Don't try and take it all on yourself. As a chapter leader, don't do that, but also show the practical nature, of why this position is important, not just, a nice little thing on your resume, because it led to a position at this person's dream employer just based on their SVA chapter experience. So if you frame it that way, when you're recruiting somebody, you bring them in, and that could be somebody that's that individual that might be make or break when you talk with a local partner. So Mike, anything to add with that?
No, I think you nailed it right there, and it is just important that a president can do it. It's fine, but it can be a lot of work. And so that's why we have a standalone position, but everyone's involved in it. Jared, will come in on meetings with me when needed, and we have those conversations. But it is nice to kind of share the burden, so to speak.
Excellent. And as far as recognizing partners, we do have a question. We have about 10 minutes left here, so we can answer a few more. How do we recognize our partners? So our chapter has thought about having a yearly event specifically to thank our donors.
So I'll say this: you don't necessarily need to have a yearly event. It's nice by all means, but sometimes those can be costly. Um, you you know you will get so much out of a simple email, phone call, saying, "Hey, thank you for supporting us. Here's some of the impact that you gave." And to be honest, that's what I do. That's what I do with multi-million dollar grants and multi-million dollar donations that are given to us. I may just send a simple email with some updates. Share a great story, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook, from one of you all at our chapters, and saying, "Hey, this just want to let you know this happened because of your support," or "Want to let you know this happened because this is just a great story," and make that personal connection. That can go a long way. Now, do we do a big event? Yep, at SVA Honors Gala, tomorrow we're gonna thank our partners, and we're gonna even put a spotlight on a couple of them for things they've done in the past year that are absolutely amazing, and they appreciate it. They love it. But I guarantee you, they also love that me tonight at the end of NatCon day one, I'm going to send a message to all our partners saying, "Hey, thank you so much for coming in. Hope you all had a great experience. Here's a little bit of the impact. Here's some of the feedback that we got from all of you about NatCon and what they supported you in doing." So yeah.
Excellent. All right. So we got another question here. How do you decide how much money is appropriate to ask from a big donor?
It's always a little tough. And so that's where research comes into. So I always will do the research, see what they've given in the past, to us historically, but then to other organizations similar to us, and just in general. So I know that at least in the ballpark. Um, we, it's only human nature that we always get kind of, I think, always get a little uneasy or a little tense of like, I have to ask for money. I mean, I think that's just natural. I've always just kind of leaned into it, meaning when the time comes to talk about one of our sponsors, Prudential, hey, my point of contact, Prudential, want you to be a sponsor at NatCon. You've been a long time sponsor. We've seen you, come in at X amount. Love to keep you at that level. But I think there's some really great opportunities if you support us even further. That means for NatCon 2021, your sponsorship dollars are being used to allow student veterans to register for NatCon for free. And we want to recognize that by letting our student veterans who register under your registration sponsorship be able to tweet you hashtag I'm going to NatCon at you on your Twitter account and give you that little bit of thanks. Let me tell you all, that all paid for hundreds of you all to come to NatCon this year for free. And that is going to then help build our relationship, further with Prudential to support NatCon 2022. And we've been doing it since 2011, I think, maybe even longer back. And that is all because I can just be like, let's just talk about the partnership. Let's talk about what we're looking to do. And when the time comes, I can say, yeah, what's the dollar point? Let's figure that out. What makes sense for you? What works for us? And there you go. You don't need to shy away from it because they know that's a part of it as well.
Okay, we have probably time for one or two more questions here. So we brought this up and we know the price will change. So we said, start planning early. Do we have an estimate at what it might cost per person to attend NatCon 2022?
There's always math there because whatever price that you may have paid previously for NatCons in person was always subsidized by our partners. Um, Look, we know, one thing that we fundamentally as an organization have, we do is we do not charge membership dues. Okay, we're not like other organizations. You've served, you know, that's your payment, and we're going to be here for you. And that's something I communicate to our partners. And so when we talk about NatCon 22, when I talk about NatCon 22 with our partners, I'm always going to say we are looking to alleviate the costs of our student veterans to go and attend this or to attend NatCon because we know there's value to it. And we want to lower that price as much as possible. Have we done the math, the research to know if we host it in Anaheim or San Antonio or Orlando or anywhere else, how much it's going to cost? Yep, like, just any kind of pricing. And then we take that, and that's our baseline, and then we kind of see what we can do to lower the cost to get more of our sponsors to support that. And then what's kind of left over is, is what you pay, and we try to subsidize as much as possible. That is a decision and a strategy and a model that we kind of stick to, and I don't think we're ever going to change from. But we do know that there's always going to be somewhat of a cost associated. I mean, technically for NatCon 2021, it was $99 for you all to be able to register, but that was all alleviated by our sponsors, by our partners. So there's always that process to figure it out. I don't know if that really helped answer the question. It's complicated, but that's why a budget and research pays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and quite literally. So on this one, we just did this, with tax season. So a great way to close this out, and important because, we put a lot of effort and, made sure we did this right this year. So the question is, for keeping a budget and getting audited, what does our chapter need to do to make sure we're doing it right? So can you share a little bit about kind of maybe what we do with kind of NatCon and why it's important for a chapter?
Yeah, so I have an accounting team that hounds me every day to make sure I meet all the financial requirements, restrictions, regulations when it comes to being a nonprofit, raising money for that nonprofit, and accepting donations and grants from third parties. There's a process. I follow it. I ask questions if I don't know the answer, and I provide them whatever documentation or anything they need in a timely manner. Because it's not that I'm afraid. It's not that like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get audited. They're going to find something wrong. I'm going to go to jail. But it is so we don't have to worry about everything that we're doing to support all of you, that the money aspect, the dollar sign gets in the way of that. And so if I do that all well, once again, I can make mistakes. I can, mess something up, but as long as I'm open and honest about it, I don't try to hide it. I don't try to, correct it in a way that is, it'll save me from Jared to yell at me. That's fine. And so when it comes to all of you at the chapter level and being an organization for a school, a student organization for school, they will have all that laid out for you. And they will be there working with you to make sure if there is an audit or what they require from you at the end of the year, that you can do it. So just ask and they will walk you through. And I see we're kind of running low on time. On behalf of SVA, Calvin and I, thank you so much for coming and watching this. Thank you to all our partners for allowing you all to come to NatCon and provide you all this wonderful opportunities. And I'll leave the final words for you, Calvin.
All right. Yeah, definitely use this experience. We build NatCon as an experience. So we say, show your thanks and kind of put the plan into action. Do it when you get back, when you're still riding kind of that, NatCon high. Use it as a springboard effect. But while you're still here, the SVA campus, anything you have as far as a blueprint, for fundraising efforts, partnership building, use it here. And then, take that back home with you, and plant that seed and let it grow. And with that, Yeah, wanted to say thank you for listening to us today, and please reach out, myself, Mike, or any other member of your national headquarters staff. So that's what we have. Thank you all.
Thank you.